So the shot I'm going to demonstrate now is what we call a punch shot. So the position I found myself in here is I have to go in between the two trees to send it towards my target. Low branches on here. Thankfully they're not in full leaf at the moment, but if they were, that could make this shot even more difficult. So we need to keep the ball down. We want it to go forward, and the main object of this one is to get our golf ball past the hazard that we're facing. What we don't want to do is have to face it again, so if we miss it at this shot and we hit the canopy of the tree and the ball drops down, we might have to face this shot again, which is a bit pointless because whenever we're playing a recovery shot, the whole purpose is to get away from the position that we're in and leave ourselves with a much easier shot. We don't want to have to repeat the shot time and time again. So the recovery shot, this low, what you would call a punch shot, is an important shot to have in your bag. And when you become efficient at it, not only can you use it for this shot, but if you're hitting shots into the wind or you want the ball to stay low and roll a little bit more, so if you're playing on a dry surface, it's quite a good shot to have in the bag. So it's well worth practicing this one. Now what I've done is I've got two clubs that I've chosen here. I've got a 7-iron and a 5-iron. And what I'll do is I'll play a shot with both clubs, and then I'll explain to you what we need to do. So I'm going to play this shot now. This is the 7-iron that I've chosen, and my main objective of this is just to keep it under the trees and try and get it past the furthest tree, so they've got a nice free shot. So let's show you how I play this shot first. So that one stayed under the tree. There's a little bank in front of me about 50 yards away. It's carried over that, and now it's going to run up the fairway. Now let's show you what happens if I use a 5-iron from here. So everybody thinks that you have to use a really low lofted club, so like a 5-iron, a 4-iron, a 3-iron, or a low rescue club, but that's not necessarily the case, and I'll explain to you why in a second. So now I've got a 5-iron. I'm going to try and attempt the same shot. Okay, so I've got myself past the hazard, but hopefully what you saw on the camera there is the ball came out really low. So the height of these branches at the moment is about probably 10 foot, 12 foot, something like that. But that came out really low. Now, had that landed a fraction shorter, that would have landed in the thick grass and would have stopped really quickly. And it really didn't want to run up the bank. Whereas the 7-iron, I've actually hit it probably 30 yards further than I did the 5-iron. And that's because we do need an amount of loft on the golf club, but we don't want too little, and we certainly don't want too much. So let's say I really take the loft of this club now and turn it, dare we say, into a 3-iron loft and keep it really low. Now if I play the same shot, so the ball's literally has no loft to lift it, and it's gone straight into the rough, and now I've left myself in a terrible situation. So I want enough loft to lift it over the hazard that's in front of me, but not too much where I hit the canopy of the tree. So for me, my preferred choice of club in this situation is a 7-iron. So it's got enough loft to lift it off the floor, but not too much where we're going to fly it into the canopy. So let's show you what we need to do to play a low, what we call a punch shot. So it's all about having the right amount of loft on your golf club at address and at impact. So the first thing that we need to do is adjust the ball position. Now, if we just think about the logic of degrees of loft, so 1 second on a clock face is 6 degrees. So if I angle the shaft forward just 1 second, I've just taken 6 degrees of loft off the golf club. If I do it 2 seconds, I've taken 12, so on and so forth. So if we take too much loft off the golf club, it won't have enough loft to actually lift it off the ground. So we do need a little bit of loft on this one. So what I like to do is put the ball towards the inside of my right foot and keep the club, the butt of the club, roughly in the centre of my body. So I feel like I'm taking maybe 2 to 3 seconds of loft off this. So about 18 degrees of loft-ish is what I'm taking off this. So now my 7-iron, which was, let's say, 30 degrees, is now only a 12-degree loft on it. So it's got enough loft to lift it, but not too much to hit it into the canopy. So ball is opposite your right foot. If you keep the club centered to the body, that's going to be about the right amount of loft to play this shot successfully. Now, what we need to do to be successful with this shot is we need to maintain the angle that we've created at setup when we actually come back to hit the ball. So it's really important to have the feeling of your hands staying ahead of the club head. What we desperately don't want to do from here is stop the hands, let the club go past the body, and then we start to put loft on the golf club, which is now going to shoot the golf ball up into the air. Exactly what we don't want to do. So my intention from here, I quite like the sensation of just maintaining this angle and moving it through. So really important that you have a great weight transfer when you're playing this one. The worst thing you can do is lean back, because that'll put loft back on the golf club again. So generally with this shot, we play it with a shorter golf swing. So we're not trying to hit a punch shot with a full golf swing. It's generally a little bit shorter than that one. Let's aim us towards our target. So I've got the ball opposite my right foot. The golf club is angled forward, so in the center of my body. And all I'm trying to do is maintain this position here, all the way through impact. So what I'm not trying to do is release the club head and put extra loft on this golf club. So ball is back, hands are forward, and I'm going to make sure that I maintain my hands forward as I hit it. And that's stayed under the canopy, but it's got enough loft to lift it over the bit of rough that's in front of me. It's pitched over the bank that's there, and that's now going to run up the fairway really simply. So hopefully what you're noticing there when I'm doing that is my weight is moving forward. So I'm not trying to stay down on the golf ball. I hit it and I move my weight forward, because that enables us to keep the right amount of loft on the golf club at impact all the way through. So I'm not trying to release the club head on this particular one. I'm just driving the ball forward using the correct loft on it. So let's just do that again with the 7-iron. Ball back, hands forward, shorter backswing than we would do normally, and just drive that ball forward. Now what you might notice there is I'm really staying in balance when I'm hitting it. I can definitely, I feel like I'm watching the golf ball until I've struck it, so I'm not looking forward too quickly, but also I'm not staying down on the golf ball, which I think is going to stop you transferring your weight as well as you should be doing. So ball back, hands forward, move forward, boom. And that just drives it out under the tree, gets you back in play, and this should be quite successful. So what I would do, just as a quick recap, I would avoid using too little loft. So this is a 5-iron. If I don't catch this just right, and I do all the same things with my setup, so ball back, hands forward, if I haven't got enough loft, that's got lucky and bounced out, but that could have easily hit the rough and stopped where it was. So just didn't have quite enough loft to lift it over the hazard. Now, bearing in mind, if you have to keep the ball extremely low, then by all means you could use a less lofted club, a 5-iron or even a 4-iron, something like that, if you've got to keep it really low. But what we do want out of this, we want a bit of distance, so we need an amount of loft, but not too much and not too little, bit like the Goldilocks. We want the right amount of loft to do this job. But the important thing is to make sure that we're moving our bodies well moving efficiently, driving the ball forward, keeping the correct amount of loft on the club when we hit it, and just drive it forward. A shot that we should all practice. It's so useful in different circumstances. I was fortunate. I was brought up in a really windy part of England, and we had to play this shot all the time just because the wind was so strong. So that enabled me to really start to drive the ball low and send it to target. But get out and practice this one. It's such a valuable shot to have in the bag.